All right, guys. So super jacked. We still got Feli here, Queen Feli herself.
Let's go.
Cool, Ice Queen. And we're just gonna chat. We're just gonna kind of have a conversation, right? Like, did anyone like see at the conference like just the mentality of the people there? Did you notice like successful people think different?
Yep.
Does everyone like understand that? You're at where you're at in life because of the way you think. Right? So if you don't have the money you want, it's not because you didn't win the lottery, it's because your thinking isn't like how successful people think yet, right? If you choose. So we just want to kind of chat and hopefully, you know, like, yeah, we might throw some jabs, okay, not to each other, but to maybe average mindsets. So if you identify with an average mindset, you'll probably walk out of here offended, which is not my goal. But I think it's important. Like, you got to get, like, if you want to think like, if you want what successful people have, you got to think like successful people think. So we're just going to have a conversation about certain topics, sales, mentality, and then, yeah. Is that cool?
Yes.
Cool beans.
All right, Feli. What you got?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think when it comes to like, we'll just talk like basic sales, right? When it comes to like, obviously driving your business, like, I feel like a lot of people, why they fail in this business, like in the like very beginning, is because one, they don't have a sense of motivation, or like they're just going into the field and then just kind of like coasting it. Like they're not being as intense, right? Sometimes in this business, it can become very stagnant if you just don't have specific goals and you aren't hitting those specific goals like in a correct time frame, right? So there's people come in the business, boom, they get into leadership, and then that's when we see people are being not stupid and just kind of coasting it. And then when they hit a dip, they don't know how to handle it, right? So I think really when it just comes to the field, you always have to think about it as if like you're your own business. And I don't think a lot of people when they start the business, like actually go into depth of like, hey, like I drive my business, I'm my biggest form of revenue. So no matter what happens, I got to do it, right? Whereas like there's tons of people that go into business and are like, oh, this person's, oh, or like, oh my God, everyone here has water filters, like for example, right? Just like kind of justifying like the obvious that's around versus like trying to find a solution about it, right? So there's this really good book. It's called Magic of Thinking Big. Highly recommend it. But obviously, like kind of Max was talking about, like you have to learn how to think like someone or like an entrepreneur, and knowing that at the end of the day you're gonna have to work hard for what you want, right? You look at all these big entrepreneurs now, like you got Steve Jobs and all these other people that like a lot of people rejected them a lot in the beginning, right? But look at them now, right? We see an iPhone everywhere, see a MacBook everywhere, right? But it's all because of like the belief that they had to like have in themselves in order to overachieve it, you know? And I think that's so cool because a lot of people like justifying like either their past or their traumas, XYZ, on the reason why they can't succeed. And it's like, no, you always have the power to do it. It doesn't matter what kind of income you come from. It doesn't matter what people have told you in the beginning, but it's like, it's just a mindset you need to have that, hey, like I'm gonna do this because I know at the end of the day, you know, my grass is gonna be greener, but not because it's on the other side, but it's because I water it, you know? And I just think everyone, if, you know, going into that mindset, knowing, hey, there's a job to get done at the end of the day, then everyone is able to speak results. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you are, or if you hit a level of complacency where you're just kind of coasting because, you know, the person who does the best in the office is doing bad, so it justifies my results. No, it doesn't, right? You're your own person. So I think that's kind of where it starts off, is just like, you know, what you're actually feeding your mind. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Like, what are you actually valuing outside of the business that's going to help you get to where you want to be? So
That was so good. Man, I could take this in so many different directions. Let's go to the field, right? So if you look at a majority of the day, you've got, what, 2 hours in the morning time and then maybe like 10 hours in the field, right? So literally a majority of the time, we're not surrounded by other winners, you know, game planning how we're gonna crush life, right? Most of the time, we're in an environment of rejection, of, you know, we're on the battlefield, you could say, right? So I guess question is, okay, well, how do I sustain, you know, my motivation maybe or intensity all day. Because it's easy to come to the office. It's easy to go to a conference. It's easy to have a notebook and a pen. It's easy to wear nice clothes. It's easy to be here, It's easy. This is not the job, right? This is like the game plan, the huddle, like to do the job. Why do you think we spend so much time on development? Like Feli has way better things to do than inviting people over for a book club. Why does she do it? Well, she does it because she sees the value in helping other people's lives and helping other people build their teams, right? Because you want the mindset of someone like Feli. You should be the one reaching out, asking questions, right? Respecting her time, communicating with the way that she wants to be communicated with, because she has what you want, not vice versa. So if your owner or your leader is the one like trying to like rev your engine, rev you up, that's so backwards. They already have what you want. You got to convince your upline for their time to spend time with you, right? But back to the field, right? So like how, Feli, did you like not get negged out? Like when you get a million no's, or Bible said, hey, some customers didn't like our service, or like it's like how do you maintain strength through it's 90% no. That's like a lot. That's a lot. Right? You gotta get 9 no's for one. That can kind of wear someone down. You know what I mean? If they're not built mentally the right way. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so like, and it's funny you asked that, because I was actually kind of thinking about it too, because I feel like everything I've normally ran, or when people ask me like, hey, how do you stay like fully motivated, like I hate saying it's in my DNA, because I know it's not. Like I'm not self-made, I am mentorship made, and I feel like, and I love Max so much for this, because he's taught me so much, and I realized a lot of things I still needed to work on when I was in the training program. But what I was kind of sharing with someone yesterday, and they told me like, hey, like how do you kind of maintain like your attitude and just like wanting to stay motivated? And I think it's because, to be honest, before this, I actually never, other than maybe like winning like one beauty pageant, like actually, and working so hard for it, like I've actually never really won in anything in my life before. Like I sucked at every sport. I played volleyball, basketball, track, cross country. I was always last. My parents would not come to like any of my events. And I would be pissed. So I was like, what the heck, so, and then not to mention like when I was obviously in like beauty pageant world and wanted to do all these events, like my parents were so against it, because every money that I would get from Chipotle or all these other restaurants that I worked, I would always go to that. I always lived very short, and it was because I wanted something in my life. And like that really made me really mad, and I think what kind of like lit a fire, and I don't know if you guys are just motivated different, but when someone tells me I can't do it, I'm like, okay, just watch me, and I think that is just more powerful, instead of like letting that really discourage me as an individual, saying, oh, they don't believe me. Like the people who are going to believe me, like, like I have like Max and my cross lines who always did, although my parents, who love me, by the way, love me, care about me, really, respect me, just wanted the best for me, even though they were against everything I did, so gave myself a goal and told myself, hey, in a year, I'm just going to do this. And instead of like letting that like neg me out in the field, I just used it as fuel. And honestly, and you can always choose to win in something in this lifetime and in this span. It's just with the skill set and the attitude you have about it and how much grit you're willing to put in. And once I realized that, then I won, right? And I'm still winning and growing and learning. But I think it just kind of starts with that mind frame and the way you think about things. Instead of thinking these like negatively, think about it positively. There's another book that I think I read. It was like way back when we were in this office. I remember Emma. She said an impact, and she ran an impact on it around the book. Helpful is Your Bucket. So good book. But it talks about like on how much you got to develop your mind frame and how much you got to feed yourself before you can feed others. And when your bucket is so full, you're just pouring into other people naturally, because of how full you are. And until I didn't really understand that, so I focused more on myself and what I needed to do, I was able to pour into others. And that's what kind of helped me kind of grow through like the mindsets and kind of carrying that into the field, right? Because obviously the field is not supposed to be easy, but it is like the development of the business, right? So it's like a gym, right? If I want to be swole and lift 150 pounds, I'm obviously not going to be able to do that, right? I'm like skinny as a twig, but I can do like 25s, right? Do some 25s, and maybe if I'm sore a little bit and I get used to it, I'll do some 30s. The field is the same way. And you got to kind of think about the field like that versus people are just telling you like no and no, like we are in the business of rejection. Sorry if you guys don't know that, but we are. You're gonna get more no's than yeses, right? So until I fully understood that, it kind of just changed my mind frame and my mindset from the things that were really holding me back. That's when I saw like the most growth.
So Colin Powell said the biggest sign of mediocrity is caring about what other people think. Which is interesting, right? Like it makes me think, oh wow. You know, and what I've realized is really the only opinion that really matters is my upline's opinion. Because Raphael's got exactly what I want, and he's on a path and journey to achieve more. So, like, I want to pursue what he's got going on. You know, Feli, I see some people, they like ask for feedback and then like go to a cafeteria and then only choose the stuff that they like. Ooh, work hard. No. Yeah, I like that. I like this. Ooh, no, not that. It's kind of funny that like, no, well, to achieve the results, you got to take the full package.
Yeah.
You know, you got to eat your vegetables, right? I don't give a shit how much you like them or not. You got to eat them, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be good. So, yeah, I think that's interesting. But yeah, caring about what other people think, right? I heard somewhere else that that leaders have a high capacity for drama. Like, they don't let other people like mess with their headspace situation, right? Whether it's a coworker, a customer, like anyone that just rides an emotional roller coaster, they're just like cool, calm, and collected. You know, and it is a muscle. It is a muscle for sure. And I think what goes into that is how we talk to ourselves, right? I can do this goal. I can do this. I will get this. I will achieve this. You know, loser words are I can't, I'll try, gossiping about other people. Like, that's loser language, right? And when I heard that, I was like, well, I don't want to be a loser. So I'm going to stop trying, and I'm just going to do it, right? I'm going to stop talking about others. I'm going to talk about the future, talk about my goals, talk about what I want to achieve. Victims focus in the past. Survivors focus way too much on the future. Conquerors learn from the past, have a vision for the future, but focus on the present. Victims. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Victims focus in the past. Survivors focus too much on the future. Conquerors learn from the past, have a vision for the future, but focus on the present. Dude, I find myself, at so many points, I've been a survivor, right? Focusing on the future. And sometimes, you know, some people, I think, Feli, are so like just obscenely positive that they like kind of forget to focus on like right now.
Yeah.
You know, they like have this like imaginary like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a national consultant, and then they call off. Like, you're not gonna be anything. You're gonna be a customer, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Like there takes a sense of reality to say, okay, well, this is where I'm at realistically. This is what I'm putting in, and then letting a coach speak into you so that you can change your activity, which is then going to change your results, right? So.
Yeah, no, that's really true. Like, I've coached tons of people before. That, of course, yeah, and that's, you know, you're super positive, think, okay, yeah, everything's going to be okay, right? But, like, you know, and there's this meeting I ran before that I kind of stole from Max called, like, 13 Reasons How Someone Can Stay Broke. And one of the reasons is people read books or get coaching and they don't apply the feedback. right? There's like a difference, right? So you're gonna read all these books. Oh yeah, I've read this book, that book. Okay, but what are you applying in your everyday life to get you where you want to be? If you're doing nothing, oh, might as well stay broke. Might as well not read the books at all, right? Go figure. But I think that's just super important, you know, that if someone really wants to grow and obviously get the future that they want, it's not just thinking positively and speaking into existence, but it's actually, you know, having themselves humbled a little bit to know that they got to receive coaching from people that have already been there, right? And then those individuals grow, right? I see people in the business pass each other all the time, right? And that's natural, right? It happens. Sometimes one person may be just jacked out of their mind, sharper, does what they do, their habits, and then the other person's like, dude, what am I doing wrong? How can I lead my team? I'm like, dude, well, how are your habits? Are you showing up? Are you on time? Are you performing? Like, are you credible enough for this person to follow you? If you're not, maybe we got to revisit something. What do you think? Right? But it all kind of just starts there, you know, and that it's okay to receive coaching. It's okay if you can't do everything yourself, right? Something that held me back a lot in this business in the beginning is that I had an ego where I thought I knew everything. You know, I came from a pageant background. I was a general manager, made a salary, had benefits. Right? Let's go. And I went to college, you know, and I thought I knew everything, and I didn't. It was a hard reality check. I actually don't know anything, even in this business right now, right? Even if, you know, I've been here for about almost a year and a half, think I know some, but I actually don't know anything at all, you know? And I'm okay with that because I'm still growing, right? So, like, it's totally okay to, like, lean on the people who actually really care about you and know that, like, you're in the business of coaching. That's why we spend so many time with people actually developing themselves and, you know, going to conferences, you know. Always a personal goal I had, Max, was, me and Earl kind of came up with this, that every single conference that me and you, like, him would go to, we have to be one step closer to where we want to be, you know, and that would kind of, like, motivate us. You know, motivate myself. So if I was going to campaign manager, I better go as a senior to the next one. You know, if I go as my senior, I better be pushing director. Or you should have a date of where I'm going to open, right? So that was just kind of my thing. It kind of kept me motivated. But it's okay to, like, ask for help. Like, you know, closed mouths don't get fed. Literally, on this boulevard, we literally say it every day, right? And they won't, you know, but don't suffer in silence. So.
Yeah. And I think, like, it's important to understand that we don't look for perfection. Like, we look for improvement, right? Improvement through applying feedback. You know, sometimes I feel like I sit down with people, Feli, and, like, we have this, you know, incredible conversation. And then, like, a week later, they, like, aren't doing anything that we talked about. And I'm like, love you, but I want to go coach people who are going to apply my feedback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, no, I get it so much.
And again, it's, you know, you hear 1% better every day, and it's just improvements, a little bit, every single day, every single day, every single day. You know, because what's crazy is we want to promote as many people as humanly freaking possible to ownership. Like, we want you to get promoted. So, and we're willing to help you. I used to get so offended when I would get feedback that I didn't like from my upline. It's like, how dare she tell me I need to do more sales? No, it's in my best interest to do more sales, right? I needed to overcome this monster I had called an ego and realize that on the other side, I can either feed my ego or feed my family. I can't feed both. Right? So, I thought that was interesting. But along the lines of winners, of winning mentality, we're always set with obstacles, you know. And right now, I don't know if you guys heard, but man, I am so proud of Radiate. So Radiate got the opportunity to go to Waco with someone from each of the Houston offices, right? We all kind of met in the middle, and it's a beautiful thing. She got in a car wreck, and it wasn't like a fender bender. It was like cars totaled. She got picked up by an ambulance with a neck brace and on a stretcher. This is last Tuesday?
It was Tuesday.
Last Tuesday. So her neck's fine, but her ankle's shot. Ankle is broken. Yeah. Cars totaled in Waco. That's not even home. That's not even Dallas. And so, I'm like, oh man, okay, I'll drive, I'll go down to Waco, grab you, right? Like, we'll go back. And she's like, no.
Wow.
Going to the field. And I'm good at sales, right? So I'm like selling her on why she needs to like take a break for a couple weeks, right? And I could not convince her. She's like, no. Next day I get display pictures. She's just chilling on a stool, leg brace, just jacked out of her mind. And I'm like, dude, you're insane. She's like, yeah, I know. All successful people are.
Wow, let's go.
I'm like, what? That's crazy.
Second most sales in front of your desk.
Crazy. Yeah, and she's like high rolling.
Yeah.
What? That's crazy, right? So you can either you can see an obstacle as a thing to overcome, or a thing to be overcome by.
You're gonna have to read that back one more time.
You can either see an obstacle as a thing to overcome, or a thing to be overcome by. Because winning is a choice. Winning is a choice. It's something you got to talk yourself into, right? So I think about, we all have our haters, I guess you could say, or people telling us that we can't do something. And what's interesting is like we are also that person sometimes, right? Like all of our negative thoughts. Like if you read Success Principles by Jack Canfield, whose favorite book is that? Who's reading that? Victoria. Juliet like handed out 3 or 4 copies today, or yesterday. So he talks about ANTS, which is an acronym for, someone help me out from Julia's org. Automatic negative thoughts. Yeah, automatic negative thoughts. ANTS, right? ANTS, like a crawly thing. ANTS. Automatic negative thoughts. We have automatic negative thoughts, right? A customer is kind of like rude to you. Oftentimes, automatic negative thought is like, right? Automatic negative thought. But you've got to like you got to speak success into your brain, right? Like, I know a lot of us have had negative significant others at one point.
Yep.
I think a lot of us have. And or like, significant other or significant people, right, in our lives. But it's like, I always thought it was funny, like my parents would give me advice, and had a few conversations about this yesterday, which I think is powerful. I love my mom. She's a great mom. Like, I'm the dumbest kid in my family. I'm one of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree that my parents did a pretty good job?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like the dumbest one. All my siblings are like smarter than me. They did better than me. And then there's Max, right? So I think they did a pretty good job. Like, I want to take parenting advice from my mom. But she hasn't had a career in 25 years. So I realized, I don't want to trade financial situation with my parents. I want their advice on parenting, but they don't have the fruit on the tree of finances. It was always a struggle growing up. We could never eat out, and we were okay, but like, that's a different category that I'm not going to take advice in, right? And I think what messes people up, Feli, is they think that taking someone's advice and love for that person is the same thing, when it's not, right? You need, like, loving someone and taking their advice are completely separate things.
For sure.
Just because someone's giving me advice and I don't take it doesn't mean I don't love them, or doesn't mean I don't tell them to their, like, I never tell my mom, I'm not going to take your advice. It's like, I love you, Mom. It's awesome. But like, down the line, 6 months ago, they needed help. They're trying to sell a house that was a nightmare in California. They moved to the East Coast and they needed to pay a bill, $10,000. And they're like, my dad's got an ego, right? He's like, so my mom went behind his back to ask their children for money, right? Which I'm cool with. I'll give them all of the money I have. I'm only here because of them, right? And I gave him 10 grand, and they're like, okay, this is just gonna be a loan, like we'll pay you back. And I'm like, no, you're not gonna pay me back. Like, keep it. You can have it. It's yours. We're good. And it's just interesting to think, like, if I did what they wanted me to do with the career, just kind of getting an average job, and I would never have been able to do that.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. That's fantastic.
And what we I think theoretically think of is like, yeah, let's break generational curses. Yeah, generational wealth. Awesome, but do you know what that actually means? What that means is generations are supposed to stand upon the shoulders of the prior generation. Which means you're gonna have to do something different to level up. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is
Infinity.
standing on the shoulders of the next generation is how you elevate your family legacy. Who's a legacy person in here? Who likes making an impact? Who wants to leave serious impact? Me too. I'm a legacy guy. I love making impact on people. Something needs to change for things to change. And it begins with how we're thinking about it.
That's so good. Yeah, because I mean, you're kind of the same way, right? My parents obviously didn't really care too much about what I used to do prior to this, right? Or this at all. But they were totally against it, you know? Cool things now that I've done, and I relate to that too a lot, Max, is, you know, my parents also, at least, you know, within the past couple months have been struggling, and it feels so good to be like, here, like, just don't worry about it. Like, I can just do that voluntarily, and then my mom's like crying and stuff. I'm like, Mom, just relax, just do what you gotta do. I'm good, you know? We're living fine here. Mom's like, okay, you know, but it does feel good, you know? And I've learned something too that kind of helped me a lot with like trying to, and making sure I'm actually applying the feedback from people that I obviously have credibility where I want to be, is like, there's a difference between like an opinion and like an advice. Okay, so like there's gonna be tons of people, whether it's your crossline, your upline, your mom, your dad, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, are gonna say what they think, but you have to be smart enough to know the difference between an opinion or an advice. Okay, so like an advice, like I'm only gonna take advice from Max pretty much, and everyone who's probably like above him, but I'm not gonna take advice from my cross line, my downline, you know, because they haven't been where I want to be. Does that make sense? And that holds a lot of people back within the program. So when we talk about circle of 5, okay, we don't necessarily talk about your cross lines that you hang out with. Like, good for you, you get along with your cross line, beam bada boom, right? Encourage each other, motivate each other, use them as like, you know, motivation. Okay, but when we talk about circle of 5, like I want to hang out, like I'm here in Dallas and set qualifiers with some of the leaders here because I want them to see the opportunity that we probably don't have there, at least yet, right? So when we talk about circle of 5, you got to talk about the people you're hanging out with that are better than you. It gets old being like the top person on your team all the time. You're capped. We're in the business of not being capped, and it's just up to you. We provide you the tools and the opportunity to say, yeah, we have a business that's uncapped. You do what you want, and you can grow, but it's gonna be up to you to actually make those decisions to do it. Right? We're not going to tell you, hey, do this, do that, you know, X, Y, Z, right? We can help you, give you the tools to do it, but it's going to be up to you at the end of the day whether you provide to do it or not, right? So I think that's really cool that you pointed that out because, you know, I value so much my association and the people I network with every day, so I can be better for my people because and then I'm doing them wrong, right? So like if I don't care about, you know, how many books I'm reading every day, my podcast, if I'm not up to date with what I want to do, I'm doing an injustice to the future of my organization and everyone else that they're going to bring on, you know? And that was really hard for me to understand in the beginning until I actually understood that like Max like just really values the people he surrounds himself with because he already knows that would be injustice to anyone else that they're bringing on, you know? So it's just like kind of thinking that way to prioritize like your habits for the future you're going to create for yourself. So I think it's really cool.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So, Feli, I get it. I'm motivated. I'm jacked up in mind, right? What do I do? What do I need to do today? What do I need to do today to start progressing and start improving and start being that 1%?
Yeah, so one, have a positive attitude every single day. Okay, whether you got life going on, you and your boyfriend broke up, whatever the case is, right? Worst comes to worst, have a positive attitude. Leave that at home and always focus on what you can do now. 2, association, okay? Create something that's naturally gonna be able to get you excited to be hanging out with people that are better than you. And read is the third one. A lot of people just say, oh, I don't like reading, XYZ. Cool, you got audios, that works too. But actually make an effort to do that, okay? There's tons of books that we encourage you guys to read to help you guys think differently, right? But it's just applying the feedback that's there so you're able to grow and succeed, right? You can be motivated as much as you want. Motivation is free, right? But what really makes someone successful in this business is the discipline that they have to apply it. Anyone could be motivated all day, right? Sometimes motivation comes and goes just because, probably feel stuck or you have stuff going on at home, right? But you just gotta be disciplined enough to want this more than anything else. So.
Definitely. Yeah, and then I think we can just kind of close it on the skill sets, right? So what are the main 3 skill sets in the business? Hard skills.
Recruiting.
Sales.
Retention.
Training. Yep, duplication. Right, so selling, sales, or for you charity people, whatever you call it. Getting customers to buy things or give you money in some way, shape, or form. Emily, would you agree, you want a lot of customers to give you money?
Yeah, give us all the good.
Absolutely, right? More money is better. More sales are better. Compliantly, right? Never bridging compliance, but just upping work ethic, right? So I need to look at sales as a skill set that I can improve on every single day. I need to focus on my metrics, right? Focus on how many people am I getting through the full advertisement, through the full conversation, right? Where are people saying no? Am I the victim to my customers or the solution provider to my customers? Meaning if they say it's too expensive, do I go to my upline and complain about how expensive it is? Or do I take the customer saying it's too expensive as feedback for how I need to package the price better? See that difference there? Winner mindset versus excuse maker? And looking at the skill set, and I was listening to Alex Hormozy and Dean Graziosi on a podcast driving over here, and I caught a bar on my 8-minute drive, right? And they said, hey, sales, a lot of people look at sales as a fight. Wrong mentality. Sales is a dance. Because I want to be with you. Like if I'm helping Jay find as a customer, find a solution, we're on the same team. We're dancing. Versus I'm gonna convince you and you're gonna get it, and then I'm gonna walk away feeling like I won. Wrong attitude. That's when you're gonna get a lot of cancellations or rude customers or things like that, right? So sales, just getting good at the craft. Who's selling the most? Let me ask them what they're doing. Let me have a growth mindset around that, right? Training, what kind of example am I putting down? Emily, I think it's so funny when people say, oh, well, I didn't do as well today because I was training. I'm sure you are shaking your head right now, right? Because it's what do you mean? So you were literally standing there watching everyone go by, say, oh yeah, so see, theoretically here, you want to pitch all these people that want to buy. What? How does that make sense?
Imagine.
People listen to what you do way more than what you say. Right? So if I want to train someone well, I should do the job really well. And then they're gonna duplicate that and they're gonna listen to that, right? And then interviewing, right? Putting together a winning team, right? Look at sports. Sports is the biggest recruiting industry ever. Right? Think about it. Coaches literally go to high school and even prior to high school. Who's a soccer fan? When do kids start getting recruited for like National League teams? What age?
Since they like the Little League, like still playing.
13?
I was gonna say 11 or 12, but yeah.
11, 12?
That is middle school.
Dude, that's crazy. So they can't play for 8 years or 6 years, or 18, right? So they can't play for 6 to 8 to 10 years, and they're getting recruited before. That's crazy, right? So the concept around like attracting talent. Like, does anyone want a bunch of winners on their team?
Yes.
Does anyone want people who do a lot of sales on their team? Does anyone want people who like are
sales.
bigger than their excuses on their team?
Yes.
Does anyone want like positive people who read books and come to all the stuff on their team?
Yep.
100%.
Would you want you on your team?
Ooh.
Oh.
I would.
I would.
Really good. Ha, me.
Some of you guys were
I
like,
would.
Jack, you're like,
I'm like,
haven't called off in 2 weeks. Let's go.
Not in 2 weeks.
Right?
Customer.
So be that, right? Like, be that. Go today, be the person that you want to promote into business, right? Be the person that you want on your team. Is that cool?
Fire.
Awesome, guys. Well, let's give a clap to all of our visitors, especially coming from other states and cities. Thank you, Miss Charlie. Cool, guys. All right, store lineup coming out. Let's be the person you want on your team today. Cool?
Fire.
First in the field.
First to make money.